Hey guys, it's Kat here, and today, whilst dressed like a waterbender because the January cold is here, I'm going to be talking through all of my stats for 2023. So yes, there will be charts and fun things and loads of numbers, so enjoy. So the simple stuff first. I read 116 things in 2023. 104 of those were physical books and 12 were ebooks. And the page count was 30,959. So I don't really think about page count. I read a bunch of graphic novels and stuff, short things. I'm not out here trying to hit a big page count. It's cool to know, it's a fun number, but I don't really know what it means. Although I did have a look at my spreadsheet and the overall average length of the books is more than last year and the year before, I think. But yeah, it's not a crazy amount. I didn't have an actual goal to specifically read a series, but it was something that I was tracking. And throughout 2023, I continued 6 and finished 8 series, which is cool. It's definitely something that I want to keep looking at. I have a page in my journal for it. It's easy to see and think, I should probably read some of them books and series that I've already started. So yeah. One of my actual goals though is to read at least 50% of the books that I haul in the year. This has been a goal that I've had the past couple of years and will continue to have, because it's what's the point of buying the books and then not reading the books, you know? I want to get the TBR books off, but I also want to be buying books and then actually reading them. So I hauled 73 books in 2023 and I read 64% of them, so boom, over 50%. It's a win for me. Speaking of books and TBRs and stuff, at the beginning of the year I had 164 books on my physical TBR, and although it wasn't a goal to get to a specific number or something, it was something that I was keeping track of each month just for a bit of fun, and I ended the year on 129 books on my TBR. So I'm reading them, I'm hauling them, but I'm still getting it down a little bit, little by little, as Oasis taught us. So we've got all of that stuff out of the way. I'm going to bring out the big guns and actually show you charts and stuff now. So let me just step on over here because you're going to need this space. So star ratings. If you have been here, if you know my channel, if you know me as a reader, you'll know that I am so picky with 5 stars. 5-star reads to me is a feeling, it's a thing, I can't explain it. Other people have core pile and these things and stuff, and oh, I figure out all these percentages, and then no, to me it's is it a 5-star? My brain and my heart will know, I will not know, but then I know. So I don't have a lot of 5 stars most years, and this is not any different. I will just grab this here so I can read them all off. So I had 6 5-star books in 2023, 17 4.5, 46 4, which is just normal. Normally my average rating is 4 stars, and this shows that that's a fact, which is good because I'm enjoying the books. I just don't have the 5-star feeling, but at least I'm enjoying the books. For 3.5 I had 27, and then I had 17 3 stars, 1 2.5 star, and 2 2 stars. And another thing you might know or not know, depending on if you've been here for a while, I've only ever given out one star. So I'm glad that I haven't given out another one. But yeah, not too many bad reads, some average, mostly good to great, and then a few 5 stars. I think it is definitely less than I've had the past few years. I think I had 9 average the last few years. It's not a lot, guys. But yeah, 6. There you go. Next up, we'll talk about the months and how much I was reading in the month. So I just sort of read and then I'm reading. I don't say I need to read this many in a month, or if I'm not feeling like reading, I just don't read. You know, if I feel like I'm in a slump, I'm there's no point in forcing myself to read something, because then I'm just not going to like it, because if you're forcing the reader, it's just, you're going to be more picky about it. You might dislike a book that you would actually normally like. So here are my numbers. So in January I read 9, February I read 7, March I read 14, which was the most. It was probably a bunch of graphic novels. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm guessing it was a bunch of shorter things. And April was 13 and May was 12, so we had 14, 13 and 12. Quite quite a lot of books in those few months. And then we had 8 in June, 9 in July, and August and September had 7 each. So a bit lower. I don't know whether this was bigger books or just slumpy. I feel like it was probably slumpy. I remember a few months being like, can't be bothered to just read all the books. And that's fine, I just don't. And then October I read 11, November I read 10, and December I read 9. So averagely, pretty decent amount. I don't read a crazy amount like some people on here do. I don't read a smaller amount. It's just like, it's there, it's fine, it's cool, whatevs. If I read 2 books, if I read 50 books in the month, I wouldn't mind. It's not really something that I'm like, oh, I need to hit this target. I just read what I read, and obviously it depends on how long the thing is and how engaged I am with the story, because you can have a long thing and it just be really like, and you can just scran it up really quickly, or it can take like 2 weeks to read one book. Either way, it's all good. Probably about the middle, so let's head on over to a message from the sponsor, and then I'll be back with the rest of the numbers and the graphs and the statistics and the stuff. Next up, we're going to talk about genres. So when I marked out my genres, I put graphic novel in a section by itself, but then after I've read them, I looked at the genres of the graphic novels as well. So it's like separate, but also in the main one. You'll understand. It's not that hard to understand. Anyway, for the genres, I have some pie charts. So first of all, I read 42 contemporary, 33 graphic novels, 6 thrillers / horror. I put them sort of together. I also definitely put like a historical book in the contemporary. I have 6 categories, and I stuff things if they don't fit perfectly into the categories that they're most like. And I read 8 non-fiction, 23 fantasy, and 4 sci-fi. So that looks like obviously contemporary is winning out. But if we break down the graphic novel section, 20 of those were fantasy, which means fantasy and contemporary are more even Stevens now. 7 were the horror thriller area. 4 were contemporary, so not really many contemporaries in the graphic novel section, and then 2 were non-fiction. So it sort of evens my contemporary and fantasy out to being quite similar, but I do definitely reach for like fantasy and horror things more in graphic novels than contemporary. Obviously there are definitely some contemporary graphic novels that I really like Heartstopper and Fence series, and like some little slice of life stuff, but in general I like my graphic novels a bit more gritty and a bit more fantastical. So yes, it sort of evens out those 2 things there. Sci-fi and thriller are pretty much always my lower rated stuff in here, and non-fiction, but I think 10 non-fiction. I definitely could have read more, but sci-fi and like thriller horror stuff are things that I do enjoy, I just don't reach for, so maybe I'll reach for them more this year. I was going to say next year. This year, because I definitely with graphic novels I do enjoy like horror thrillery stuff there, so that might sway it a bit more. But I feel like I might be interested in some books. Like I always watch Kayla from Books and Lala, and like she always talks about horrors and thrillers and stuff, and I've never heard of any of them because I don't look into them, but so many sound interesting, so maybe I should try some more. We shall see. And sci-fi, again, there's so many different versions of sci-fi, I just don't reach for it, but potentially it's something that I can try out more. I don't know, we shall see. So next up we will talk about the age range, sort of where the books are pointed towards. So I read 50 middle grade. A lot of them, I think about like 7 of them were from, is it February or March when the National Book Day is, whatever it's called. But yeah, I did a vlog with all of those little books in there. So I didn't actually read much middle grade outside of those ones. I did a few here and there, but probably not as much as I have in other years. And then I read 3 new adult. This is just random. It's a hard category to generalise, to be fair. I just throw stuff in there sometimes when I'm like, I don't know, But yeah, 52 YA and 46 adult. So those are like almost at the same level. So yeah, that is an interesting stat. How do you categorise new adult? It's such a hard area. Because sometimes things that are categorised as YA, I'm like, well, that's just not a fact. For example, the Dreamer trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater. Just because it's a sequel to The Raven Cycle, which is YA, it does not mean that that's YA, because like the writing is more like mature. Every character apart from one, I think, is in their 20s. I'm like, I don't even think I read any of them this year. I read them last year. I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's hard because it's just categorised where it's not meant to be. But they're just general categories anyway. But anyway, let's move on to the authors. So I track my authors in two ways. So I track their gender and their race. I don't like bridge out into individual things on there. So with the gender one, we'll go there first. I track it as male, female, non-binary or multiple. Male and female, non-binary are pretty self-explanatory. Multiple obviously is if a book has more than one author and they fit into multiple ones of those categories. But if a book has multiple authors and one of them is non-binary, one or more is non-binary, I put that in the non-binary category just so I can see that I'm like, if I'm reading non-binary authors. I don't know if that happened this year. I'm just explaining it as that's how I track this. So I read 51 male and 51 females, very, very even. It was definitely more female dominated towards the beginning of the year, but then I had some stuff that I needed to read, or like series and stuff where it sort of bumped up. Like for example, Lock and Key, I read that whole series and all the authors are male, so it like bumped it up, so they're pretty even Stevens, but male just picked up one more than female. And then I read 7 non-binary and 8 with multiple people in different categories. So yeah, I don't like specifically go out of my way to be like, oh, I need to read this male, I need to read this female, I need to read this non-binary. It just, that's where the cookie crumbles, that's where the stats have fallen. So yes. And then with the race one, I categorise it as white, BIPOC and both. Again, the both is if something's got multiple authors and there's an author that's white and an author that is BIPOC. So yes. And with that one, I read 63 white authors, 35 BIPOC and 18 with both. So this one definitely, again, towards like the last quarter of the year or the last half, the white section got bigger again with stuff like Lock and Key, where there's 7 volumes of that, I think, and all of the authors are white, so it's just like jumped about. But I feel like it's pretty decently balanced if I'm saying that the BIPOC and the both, because the both section also has BIPOC authors, almost is half of my reading. Again, I didn't necessarily go out of my way to try and make it even or anything like that, but I am glad that it is almost even, and maybe we could get it more. But stuff I needed to read, stuff that I had on my TBR, stuff that had multiple things in the series, was white authors, so there was more of them. So those are all of the stats that I specifically track. Let me know down below if you have any other ones, or any that you would like to see me talk about, or any that you think that I should track and see what's going on in the future. Let me know down below. I do watch some people's videos and they have like so many different sections and it's so interesting and stuff, but I don't know, I feel like where I'm at, I'm keeping some track of stuff, but I'm not like keeping track of every single thing. So yeah, if you want any more, that's what that's for. I'm pleased with all my stats. I don't really have specific goals. Like the only 2 actual real goals I had to do with this is I always set my Goodreads to 50 books. I read over 50 books, and to read 50% of my hoard books, I read 64%. So like that is good for me, but I am happy with what I have got. I would love to have read more, not necessarily more 5-star books, because I'm so picky with 5-star books. Like even some of the books I gave 5 stars, I was like on the fence, but I thought, no, I'll let them. Like I'm that picky. But yeah, I feel like I want some more hard-hitting stuff. I've not put out like my goals video yet, but you'll hear more about that in that video. January is so full, there's just all the videos I need to put out, but you will hear about that at some point soon. But yeah, that's the end of the video. You can do all the things if you want, but only if you want. You can like, you can comment, you can subscribe, you can do that if you want. And yeah, I'll be back in a few days with another video. Bye.